Hello, welcome back to Blender CC Live Noding. In this episode, we're gonna take a look at dual mesh nodes from SVerchok add-on. You might be familiar with dual mesh from Tissue add-on by Alessandro Zomperelli. If you have Blender 2.79 and Tissue add-on installed, you can select a geometry and then convert it into dual mesh, and you will see how the topology changes from something that's maybe an n-gon or maybe triangulated mesh, and it becomes something that's a bit like Voronoi. So in the past, this has been like a quick way to kind of simulate Voronoi. So this is Blender 2.81. I'm using Blender 2.82 over here, which is actually a lot faster. So 2.82. However, I realized that in this version of Blender, somehow if I have Tissue add-on, I don't see the convert to dual mesh here. Maybe it was hidden somewhere. However, convert to dual mesh is actually here. This is actually from Tissue add-on, and you can see it's working. However, we want to do it using nodes, and with nodes, you actually have a lot of interesting possibilities that's unlocked. Okay, so SVerchok add-on and dual mesh nodes. It's very simple nodes to use, and if you look at the documentations, dual mesh nodes from SVerchok GitHub, it's really, if you have any mesh, it's gonna create some kind of polygon around the points. It's very, very cool little nodes. So let's quickly have a look. If we have Suzanne and bmesh output, so let's save this very quickly as dual mesh experimentation. So plug in Suzanne, face, and the output is gonna be dual mesh. Well, actually, in this case, it's actually quite interesting. The result is not what I was expecting. So that's the original Suzanne, and this is the one after dual mesh. Somehow I have a feeling that we need to triangulate the mesh beforehand, and we need to change this. So, okay, look at this. So suddenly, after the triangulations, we have Suzanne that's more or less like a dual mesh. Okay, so that's interesting. But if you want to play around, start with something like icosphere. Plug this into the dual mesh. Suddenly you have something like a soccer ball. So originally, icosphere is looking like this. Plug this there, plug this. So that's you can see clearly what this dual mesh node is doing into the icosphere. What if we have multiple dual mesh? What's gonna happen? It suddenly become triangle again. So it's very interesting. Maybe we need to have triangulate mesh over here. Yep, so suddenly we have something that's completely different. It's changing, sometimes it's changing the topology too much. I don't mind it, however, because we can say we have like maybe like inset special, which is basically kind of doing an inset and then you can sort of extrude. You can have a lot of interesting result very, very quickly. So especially if you turn on and off the make inner. So that's one way you can play around with. If you triangulate mesh, or maybe using something like remove doubles, which basically kind of reducing the number of poly and turn into triangles, you can have very interesting result actually. So this is one example. So remove double somehow, give you that, and then the dual mesh, and then try using another inset special. So use that together, and you have something that's a little bit more interesting. Let's turn on cavity. So distance. So there you go, look. So very unusual result. Save this. I'm gonna give you the blend. So experiment with this. So the inset. Suddenly you have this beautiful geometry. So apparently with things like dual mesh inset, if you keep it like minimalistic based on icosphere, or maybe perhaps something like super ellipsoid conic, regular solids. So regular solids have a lot of interesting mesh to play with. There's a lot you can try using this, and you get a lot of interesting result right away, because this is based on mathematical formula, and you generate all kind of shapes simply by trying each one of them. You can get a lot of very interesting result very quickly. So it's kind of like almost like cheating actually. It looks very cyberpunk kind of look. So cyberpunk, let's try something a little bit metallic. Yep. And you can still control the inset. You can animate this, not too much. So let me try if I remove. So if you remove double too much, it's become a little bit messy. Maybe we don't actually need to remove the doubles. Oh yeah, we don't actually need that remove double. Dual mesh inset and dual mesh inset actually give similar result. Remove double is just completely something else. If you actually, I like remove doubles. Actually, I prefer something like decimate. If you turn on decimate and then turn on triangulate and keep symmetry, you actually have a very interesting. You can have interesting topology that you can reuse it inside SVerchok. Just an idea. So let's get back to this object. What else can we do? We can do another. We can do this one more time. So dual mesh. After a couple of these, you're gonna end up with something that's a little bit fractal looking. See, you got like this kind of weird flower. So I like this. It looks complex, but it's not really. I mean, it's really complex, but it's become so simple thanks to these nodes. And on top of this, you can actually do something a little bit crazy, like using Blender mirror. So mirror it in multiple axes, and then try to just move this guy. Don't move it using the matrix. Move it using move, or actually use apply, matrix apply vertices. And this one, you can do a lot more. Just move it in the locations. Look at this. You can move it in the XYZ locations, of course. Get something that's really quite complex. I made duplicates just in case. On top of that, you can also rotate it, which is pretty crazy. So you can rotate. So you can also scale. Okay, let's scale it. Oh, but if you scale it, the topology sort of changing. But let's try anyway. So rotate, scale. So this is almost like a quick way to really add details in 3 different axes. Like I said, it's almost like a kind of like a fractal. Yeah, maybe don't go there too much. Let's go back, reset everything. Oh, scale, keep it to 1. You can rotate it if you like, 0 it out. So that's another idea. Let's see, let's get back to this guy and then try a different topology. Maybe there is something that I haven't talked about. So inset, dual mesh, you can always subdivide later, and subdivide give you that. Also quite beautiful, and it's very alien looking. So if you want to go subdivide, you get that different topology, multiple. This guy actually have dual mesh as well, which is interesting. Dual mesh options, keep size, scale, vertex truncate. If you want to play, actually SVerchok have something interesting that you can use. Subdivide. So subdivide is very cool. You can of course subdivide, but with this guy you actually need edges in order for this to work somehow. Maybe we have polygon to edges. Okay, we do have polygon to edges, which is pretty strange. And okay, that's kind of heavy. Yeah, this actually causing a loop or something. Let's delete that. Let's undo that. So force quit. Hey, okay, it's done, which is interesting. All right, delete. Yeah, it doesn't like it. Maybe don't do this. You can try different options. Go smooth. Yeah, unfortunately this one doesn't have edges option, which is unfortunate. So you can't subdivide. So what else? If you want to do like, if it's, I found that this topology actually looking a little bit like a turtle pattern. So if you actually want to do something different, you can have you can try random vector and then use some kind of triangulations. So the LIVENODING, this is the LIVENODING for 2D, but you can add a dual mesh to it. Also, this is give you an interesting result very quickly, but it needs to be flat. Yeah, actually it doesn't need to be flat. It's actually clever enough to do it for you. But if you can use rewire, vector rewire, scalar 0, this will flatten the triangle, and on top of this you can have randomize in X and Y. So viewport wireframe, so you can see the dual mesh is happening, and which is pretty cool. Insert special. The pattern is a little bit random, but let's see. Okay, that's inset. See, you get this kind of like a turtle turtle shell pattern. Yeah, a quick way to make this a little bit more beautiful is to symmetrize symmetry and mirror. That's what you want to bisect it. So symmetry, now it's symmetrical. It's almost like a turtle shell itself. You can end up with something interesting with this because it has symmetry, it has pattern. Suddenly you have a character design, right? Not really, but you can use imaginations. So this is something completely different. I have two ideas suddenly in this video: randomized points and dual mesh mirror. If you use a little bit of imagination, you go to top view. Look at this pattern. Maybe it looks like some kind of bugs or robots. Yeah, I think it's very interesting. It's possible. So increase the distance, inset, and just simply you have all kind of possibilities here. So you can imagine, okay, this is definitely a little bit like an embryo, right? Some kind of bugs. And then this embryo, if you look at it from the side view, it's almost like every creature, every embryo. And then you just add arms and legs. So this is another idea I've been thinking a lot about it. It's possible to generate something from this. You just need to be able to separate the body and arms and make it 3D. You know, maybe with this we can mirror it once again, but in the different axis, just using a lot of ideas. So suddenly we have double-sided at a distance. I don't know, it's a try maybe a little bit of more volume here. It will look a bit better. But you know what, with something like this you can also just remesh it, quad remesh. So apply. Oh, it failed. Use voxel. So voxel gives you something decent, but it's still like flat on top of bottom. Yeah, just an idea, but maybe I'm too fast in terms of trying to. Maybe we need some kind of thickness, another thickness, and we have something that's more like an insect-like. Just an idea. All right, so there you go. That's that's a quick look at dual mesh. It's actually not that complicated. You can use dual mesh. Just plug anything into dual mesh and see the result, and then play around with insert special. Yeah, hopefully this is interesting. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.